Hello, I'm Dr. Ross Bomben of the Performance Therapy Group. I want to demonstrate the Distance Runners Strengthening and Injury Prevention Program. This program was designed as a simple tool to reduce the likelihood of injury. It is not meant as a comprehensive workout program to improve performance. So the first portion of the workout is the strengthening part. So we're going to start with a single leg squat. The basic procedure for single leg squat is to keep the weight on the back outside of your heel. That will keep the knee over the foot so that you don't have a valgus force, but basically an inward rotation of the knee. And it puts most of the strength in your butt, in your quadricep, just where it should be. So single leg squat, you want, again, weight on the outside heel, and you squat back as if you're going to sit into a chair. And obviously you do that on both legs. The next portion is a lunge. Now, I typically have people take as long a step as you can for a couple purposes, to stretch the glute and hamstring here, and also stretch the opposite hip flexor. So as you drop down, when you're first starting out with this, you'll want to probably just go about that far, maybe somewhere in this range. Eventually, I want you to take a little longer step and to drop all the way down into 90 degrees here, or where the knee hits. Now in distance running, you don't typically need to go much lower than this unless you're sprinting up a steep hill. So the depth of lunge is less important, but I like a big long step to stretch while we're strengthening during lunges. The ankle strengthening series are 4 basic exercises with 2 optional hip strengthening exercises. For the first one, you want to walk with the weight on the outsides of your feet. This strengthens the muscles on the inside right through here, and so you can do it just walking like this, kind of like a cowboy, bow-legged cowboy, or in standing you can just rock to the outside of your feet like that. You can do the same thing to the inside here. You're going to be strengthening the everters here by walking on the insides just like that. And again, you can do the same thing in standing by just rocking in. And you're just trying to get fatigue, obviously, through any of these muscles. That tells you you've done enough. Next couple exercises are walking on your heels. So you can do it just like this, and I always recommend doing this one in shoes, because if you walk on your heels on a hard surface, that might bruise the heel, and for a distance runner, that's no good. So just walking like this. Again, you can do the same thing in standing. Tapping like this with both, or if you only do one at a time, that's even more challenging. Okay, the last one is always done barefoot, where you walk on your toes backward. So if I'm up like this, you walk backwards, and it's an important thing to note that you don't walk on the ball of your foot. So I could walk on the ball of my foot, and that would look like I'm walking on my toes, but it would not help at all. You have to actually be on your toes as if you're trying to be like a ballerina and go up on point. So you're trying to push off with your toes, and that'll strengthen all the deep flexors of the foot. The last 2 exercises here are basically a hip exercise, and that is walking pigeon-toed like this and walking like Charlie Chaplin. So the next part is core strengthening. There are 3 mandatory exercises and 1 optional. So the first one is starting face down, just like this. We call it prone elbow stand, single leg raise. So you want to be on your elbows. You can also do this on the hands, but it's just slightly more difficult to do it on the elbows. And the most important portion of this is that we want the pelvis flexed a little bit, like an anterior pelvic tilt. We don't want the hips too high, and we definitely don't want them too low. You want them right in the middle with a slight anterior pelvic tilt. Then you just lift the leg just like that, concentrating on squeezing the glute as you lift this leg up. Okay? The next is side plank on the elbow with a leg raise. Most important part of this is that your shoulder, hip, knee, and foot are all in a straight line. And you can lift up like this. You can use your fingertips to support yourself. If you have to use your hand, then I would suggest doing it on your knees and not using it. Because if you use your hand, it rolls you too far forward. and you typically are rounded like this instead of staying directly on your side. So optimally you'd be on your elbow, like that, and just raise up just like that. Okay, obviously both sides. Then the last one of the group of three is an elbow stand or handstand supine hip lift, just like that. And we want you to lift the leg up. Now, it takes a long time to develop the hamstring strength to be able to get in this position and then lift up. So what I'd recommend is when you first start this, bend the knees like that and lift up this way, then try to lift up. But if you feel any sharp pains or anything like that, then you're tearing your hamstring. So I want you to be very, very cautious with that. And you might start this initially just both legs up like this and just holding that for time. And you'll feel the burn in the back and in your glutes. Lastly, the optional exercise is a supine handstand hip lift. So how I do this is my working leg. The foot lines up with this knee. Right there, I put the inside of this arch on the inside of that knee and set it in line with my hip. I lean back in this position wherever's comfortable. Then I lift this hip as high as I can take it. Now most of the half of the exercise is spent getting you from here to there, and the next half of the effort is spent getting you from here to there. So the last little bit of movement there really focuses on the glute, and you should fatigue in your glute, not your hamstring, when performing that exercise.